Something happened in Manchester 10 days ago that Westminster is hoping you never connect to what's happening in Clacton right now. Not in the campaign broadcasts, not in the polished press conferences, not in the political shows that call themselves serious journalism, while ignoring the one number that actually explains this entire story. He quit, not because he was pushed, not because he lost. Nigel Farage walked out of Parliament on his own terms and dared the country to send him straight back in. 8 days from now, we find out if it worked. And while he was doing it, the man his own party threw out in disgrace. The man Reform UK once accused of threatening his own staff, picked up the phone and offered him a lifeline. You could not write this. The rival, the outcast, the man Farage's own colleagues wanted nowhere near power. That man is now the person Farage might need most to survive. How did we get here? One number did this, 8.7. That's the share of the vote that went to Rupert Lowe's brand new party in the Manchester mayoral race. Add it to Reform's 21% and the right wins the city outright. Split it, which is exactly what happened, and Labour walks in the front door. Sit with that. The right didn't lose Manchester because Britain doesn't want what they're selling. It lost because the people who wanted it were handed 2 different ballot papers and told to pick a side. That is the sentence Westminster does not want spoken on camera. So let's say it anyway. Reform UK's biggest enemy right now is not Labour. It is not the Conservatives. It is Restore Britain, a party built by a man Reform tried to bury, now standing in the same seats, splitting the same vote, and handing victories straight to the people both of them exist to destroy. Subscribe now, because the next 8 days will decide something British politics has been too scared to ask out loud. Is the right about to unite for the first time in a generation, or is it about to hand its biggest opportunity in decades straight back to the people it hates most? Now here's the part almost nobody's telling you. While Restore and Reform were busy gutting each other in Manchester, Farage was fighting for his political life on a completely different battlefield. In July, a parliamentary inquiry opened into an undeclared £5 million donation Farage took just before he was elected. Farage calls it a stitch-up, a political hit job dressed up in the language of standards and ethics. Believe him. Don't believe him. That's your call. But here's what actually happened next, and it's the part that should genuinely stop you in your tracks. Farage didn't sit tight and let the story bleed him for months. He resigned, on purpose, in the middle of a live investigation. He forced a by-election in his own seat and threw the decision straight back at the voters of Clacton. Do you still want me, knowing everything you now know? That vote lands on the 13th of August. Win, and he marches back into Westminster with a fresh mandate, and the investigation resumes with him standing tall. Lose, and it is, without exaggeration, the single worst night of his political career. That is exactly the position Farage was standing in when Rupert Lowe made his move. So who is this man, really? Not the sanitized version, the real one. Elected as a Reform MP in 2024, suspended from his own party inside a year, after allegations he threatened and demeaned his staff. Lowe denies every word of it. But Reform's leadership didn't shrug it off as noise. They used it to push him out the door entirely. Most people who go through that disappear from politics for good. Lowe didn't disappear. He came back swinging, and he built an entire party out of the wreckage. First a pressure group, then, this February, a fully registered political party, reportedly backed by Elon Musk himself, who'd openly called for exactly this, something harder-edged than Reform. By March, Lowe had crossed the floor to become that new party's first sitting MP. That is the man who filmed a video the second the Manchester results landed. No apology, no softening, just this. Nigel, my message is simple. If you are prepared to work together around serious policies, serious reform, and serious government, then so are we. Farage didn't say no. He also didn't say yes. What he actually said was that Reform is still the only party capable of real change, but that delivering it will need support from people who don't currently vote for him at all. Days later, cornered and asked outright if he was talking to Lowe, Farage admitted it. His words, he'd responded with an open mind, while making sure everyone knew the approach had landed in a very unusual way. Translate that out of Westminster speak, and here's the truth underneath it. Farage knows Restore could do him great harm. His own words, if this split runs into a general election. Lowe knows Reform still has something no 18-month-old party can fake. 30 years of a name people trust. Neither man wants to need the other. Both of them, right now, absolutely do. And here's the twist almost nobody's factoring into this story. The entire political landscape underneath both of them just shifted. Keir Starmer is gone, resigned. Andy Burnham, the former mayor of the exact city where this entire crisis began, is now sitting in Downing Street, promising to be a circuit breaker for a country that's burned through 7 prime ministers in a single decade. That is not stability. That is a door left wide open. And a door left open does nobody any good if the two men who could walk through it together are too busy tearing lumps out of each other for the same seats to even notice it's ajar. So, is this an alliance? Not yet. Call it exactly what it is. Two rivals doing the maths and hating what the maths says back to them. Because here's what makes this different from every feud British politics has ever produced. Farage and Lowe are not fighting over ideas. They agree on almost everything their voters believe. This is not ideological. It is about who leads, who gets the seats, and who takes the credit. And unlike a fight over beliefs, this kind of fight leaves a paper trail. Manchester already happened. 8.7% of the vote already went somewhere it never needed to go. That is not a talking point. That is a receipt, and everyone involved knows it. So here's exactly what to watch. If Farage wins Clacton comfortably on the 13th, he walks into any negotiation with Lowe holding all the cards. Any deal happens entirely on his terms. But if that result comes in tighter than expected, or if Restore quietly bleeds his margin without even standing a candidate, everything flips overnight, and Lowe stops being the man asking for scraps. Either way, and this is the part I need you to actually sit with, what you are watching unfold right now is not two rivals performing a grudge for the cameras. It is two movements that have just been shown in hard numbers exactly what staying divided is going to cost them. And for the first time in this entire saga, neither one of them is pretending not to notice. 8 days. One by-election, one decision that could reshape British politics for a decade. Subscribe now, because the moment that Clacton result is called, I will be back on this channel to tell you exactly what it means and whether this alliance actually happens or collapses the same way every other truce on the British right always has.